Welcome to It's Your Date with Destiny with Apostle Vivian and Pastor Jemma Duncan of Divine Destiny Worship Center in Diego Martin. For the next 30 minutes, join us as we take you on a journey of maximizing your potential and realizing your goals through Jesus Christ.
Why is it when you need a miracle, it doesn't happen, but when you least expect it, it happens?
You are married, you have challenges in your relationship, but your spouse is unwilling to accede to any counseling. Is divorce an option?
How does a parent handle a promiscuous child?
What are considered the do's and don'ts of a born-again couple who is not yet married?
There are always more questions than answers. So here is Apostle Jemma.
So here we are into part 2 of a question I was dealing with last week. I'm a newlywed, but we have challenges in fully adjusting to each other help. And I'm happy that you're still with me, hoping that some of you are still with me. But before we go into the continued response, let me just introduce myself if you're here for the first time. My name is Jemma Duncan. Apostle Vivian and I are the pastors of Divine Destiny Worship Center with headquarters in Diego Martin, on the Diego Martin Main Road, opposite Sardonynx Drive. We have branches in Chaguanas, we have in Sangre Grande, in Faizabad, in Rio Claro, one in Tobago, and one in Antigua. Last time, I briefly talked about the fact that these issues and challenges are common in every relationship. Nothing is wrong with a relationship. And one of the best things to do is start from very early with two main things, with communication and compromise. But I just want to quickly run into number one. There are 7 common issues that we want to talk about. And I left off talking about money and finances, which was number 1. And not just is it number 1 of 7, but it seems as though it seems to be the most important of the 7 that we're going to talk about today. One of the biggest problems, as I said, that could happen in a relationship is somebody who enters into a marriage with huge debts, and especially if you did not say so. It's very unfair to a partner for you to inherit humongous debts because you would have plans for your relationship, plans of how you're going to move forward, and then realize that you can't make one step forward because you have this huge debt and you can't accomplish anything until the debt is paid. If there are debts, if one person incurred debts or both of you have debts, then one of the things you have to deal with in counseling is how you're going to get rid of the debt. What kind of strategy that you may have. As a matter of fact, in some cases, depending on how large the debt is, I would say put off that relationship, that marriage, until that person could come up with a strategy to get rid of that debt. Because sometimes the debt is almost a mini mortgage, if you want to call it that, right? And people who come in with poor money management skills. And many times the person come in and we decided that we're going to have shared resources, yet the person does not adjust the behavior. So, you had poor management skills, it may have incurred some debt, and now we are married, but you're still continuing to mismanage money the same way. So then we have to decide, maybe pooled resources is not the best idea, in this relationship. Then we have to decide what our priorities. We must have the same priority. Somebody might decide that, my priority is we need a home, the first thing on the agenda. And that's a very good thing for all couples to start with, thinking about a house. Start a home. It doesn't have to be the biggest house or anything. But start somewhere where home ownership is absolutely important. And start there. Afterwards, you may be able to buy another house with more amenities that you may wish for, but at least have a starter home. But somebody else, and both of you, one person might figure, no, we need a car. Right? Some people might figure we need vacation. That's what I talked about. Well, there are some people who priority is just things. It's not house, not car, not anything like that. Just buying stuff, jewelry and clothing and so on. Handbags and shoes and all that. And I remember there was this guy, when we got to know them, this couple, they did extremely well in terms of income earning. They were good business people and really extremely good, and they earned a lot of money. And the first time we went to visit them, they didn't own a home, they didn't have a car. And I'm puzzled. I'm saying, you know, you make so much money. Why is it that you don't have a home and not a car? Because the wife used to rent a car, hire a car to take her anywhere, which was extremely expensive. So she'd had this car. They lived in deep south. If she wanted to go Port of Spain, this particular person will just drive her everywhere, right? And he says she wears the wealth on her body. So they never accomplished much because she just, I mean, she was very attractive, beautifully dressed. She was always the best dressed person. In anywhere you went, she was there. She was the best dressed person in the room or in the event, right? And they lived many years together and never accomplished much because the money was just spent, right? So if you're talking overcoming these issues, both of you have to be on the same page, right? I mean, you have to agree with your partner if that person feels that home ownership is important, right? And so on. So trust is important as well, and I want to move on from that. I must be able to trust you to manage the money well. If we're supposed to pool our resources, then the husband must be able to trust the wife must be able to trust the husband. Should people have personal accounts? I say yes. I believe that each of you, even though most of the resources will be pooled, I believe you should have your own account. Every time you want to buy some little item, I don't have to ask Vivian, you know, come on, give me $100 for this. You know, all right, I'm an adult, I'm a big person, and I'm accustomed to spending my own money. I want money where I could share for myself. I know the question you're asking me, so what if the wife is unemployed or decides to be a homemaker, and don't say unemployed, homemaker, then she has as much right to spend money as the husband in that relationship. If we agreed that I will stay home to take care of the children, which is really a very good idea, but both of you must agree on that, then you should make money available to this lady. Don't have her asking you if I want $10, $20 for some little thing. I have to be asking, no, put the money somewhere, make it available so I could just have a drawdown of the money, give me a bank card or something. So if I want to get something, you know, I could get it without having to ask for it. I find as a woman, I will not be happy just talking about me if I have to ask Vivian for every little thing that I want. No, I don't want to be asking, you know, so. The homemaker has the right to spend money and decide on how the money is to be spent as any other woman who's bringing income into the home because that's the agreement that both of you made. All right. Problem number 2, we're talking about adjusting, young married people adjusting. And the first problem is money and finances. Problem number 2 is in-laws. That is based on what they say is happening, you know, in relationships, in-laws. My husband likes to call some of them outlaws, but then there's it's only Mr. Duncan can explain that to you. The Bible says that you should leave mother and father and cleave to your husband or wife. And there are 2 verbs there, leave and cleave. And in leaving, the parent as well as the child must put some effort into this leaving part. In my observation, the problem of leaving or the challenge for leaving is much more with mothers and their sons. I don't think mothers have a problem with for their daughter to go and for somebody else's son to leave. But when it comes to your son, we seem not to want to let go of your son. I don't want to say we because I let go of mine. You know, my sons, they made their own choices. I didn't try, you know, we brought them up and we didn't feel that we should have big decisions in the choices they made because we felt we brought them up in the way that they should be able to make very good choices, and they did. And so, you know, I leave them. Vivian and I let them make the decision. They ask us, we give. If you ask, we will give you an opinion. You don't have to take it. If you don't ask, we're not giving you any. You know, and now they ask because my eldest son always talks about bouncing his head. He say, Mommy, I'm asking. Because sometimes he would call. I say, but you can't decide on that. He say, no, I bounce my head enough. Everything I have to do asking Daddy. I say, okay, great. Right? So, Mommy, you have to let go of this son. What are some of the things that we see happening and where you as the mother could play a major role in letting him go is you know that most young wives can't cook as good as the mother. So you make sure you cook, and he has to pass home to eat your food every day. You have to stop doing that. And if you want to cook, then you can't feed him alone. So when he pass by you, he can't eat by you. Give him a container with enough food for two and let him go home and eat with his wife. I don't see any young wife will have a problem with their mother-in-law cooking, especially if you could cook. And usually you could cook, you know. But you can't feed him and then make him brush his teeth and wipe his mouth and come home, you know. And if the wife cook, of course she can't cook as good as you. He don't want to eat the food, or he hardly eating the food. Some mothers go so far as a pack dinner, but it's only for one. So you're giving him something, you're going home and the food is just enough for one, not good enough, mommy. The Bible says that you need to let go of your son. So I'm talking to you, you need to let him go. You know, the young man has a wife, you know, don't have this kind of control over him. And many women I see, they behave as if the young boy is a husband. I mean, it's not sexual. I'm not trying to be insulting there. But I mean, you actually act as if he is your husband. He's not your husband, he's your son. And when he gets a wife, the Bible says, God talking, say, leave mother and father and cleave to your husband and your wife. If you have an issue with your in-laws, then the person whose parents it is should be the ones to communicate the problem to them. For example, I'm married, well, Vivian's parents are both deceased, but if there was an issue with them, Vivian should be the one to talk to them, not me. You know, you and your husband and wife, talk about what the issue is, and that person must go to his parents. So if it was my family, I would have had to go to my mother to say, you know, I find you disrespecting Vivian, you know, so. I need to tell you, no, it's my husband and I love you, I don't want to choose. And then on the other side, we have to make sure that even when we complain about our in-laws, we have to be respectful. You can't disrespect your husband's family. No, should the opposite happen. Be very respectful in what you say and how you say concerning the family. There's something that I notice happening from time to time that I find is very unfortunate. I see spouses standing idly by while family members abuse their spouse or encroach on their privacy. And they say nothing. Your mother don't have the right to abuse your wife, or your mother don't have the right to abuse your husband, and we say nothing. You are the one to say, mommy, no. I love you, but you have to respect my wife, or you know, you have to respect my husband. This is not acceptable, and so on. We have to say something. I remember this particular situation where this couple lived with the gentleman's family, and the only supposed privacy that they had was a bedroom. And however, she was not allowed to lock the door. And so his family were able to go in and out of the room, and they were very abusive to her, and he said nothing. The only solace she had was a journal. She would write her feelings down. And one day his adult sister went into the room, obviously digging up, I don't know, looking for what, found the journal, brought the journal out, read it, and discussed with the other family member. When she came home, they accosted her with the contents of the journal. This lady comes to me, trembling like a leaf, almost like she's going crazy, is crying hysterically, trembling like a leaf, and can't bring herself to even communicate. I tell her, listen, just, you know, calm yourself, don't say anything until you could speak. And I tell her, say, you know what, you border in St. Anne's. And I said to her, I don't want to counsel you. Let me tell you what I'm advising you, and you could take the advice or not. I said, when you leave here, go from one end of the street to the other and see if anybody renting a room. I said, all you need is one room. You can sleep on a rug in the room. A table with 2 chairs, yeah. A microwave, you don't need no fridge. A little ice box. I say, listen, all you need is your sanity. I say, if you agree to maintain your sanity, then come back for counsel after, because you're going mad. I prayed with her, settled her. I say, no, if you come back, that means you want to go back and for them to send you in St. Anne's. If you come back, well, meaning you get a room, we will talk from there. Fortunately for her, it worked out well, and I give God praise. Because when he realized that she was going to make a move, he had to come up and do something. They have moved from the family. They have a home of their own, well, renting a place, and the relationship is going good. But the husband should have been the one to defend her. You have to defend your spouse when your family, they're abusing them. Last point here is avoid venting to your parents about issues in your marriage. Because what you're doing is putting them in a difficult situation. It's hard for them to be objective when you tell them some of the hurtful things that happen in the relationship. And after you've forgiven each other and you're lovey-dovey, your mother and they hateful and resentful towards your spouse. So we have to be very careful. What you need to do is find somebody else to talk about, some other counselor. Lastly, your spouse is your first obligation. Your mother is not, your family is not a token financial obligation, time obligation, whatever it is. When you get married, your spouse becomes your first obligation. You can't go and say, well, I have to pay my family and they need things, so it's only when you pay off their debts, then what remains, you're bringing home. No. Your first obligation. Should you help your family members? Yes. Absolutely, you have the finances and you can help them. I'm saying yes, but they are not your first obligation. Your spouses, this new relationship becomes your first obligation. The final thing for this morning will be schedules and time management. You are expected to spend time with that person. There must be an adjustment to your schedule in terms of time and your lifestyle. You can't line with the boys, hang out with your friends as per usual. Some people on a Friday night, Friday evening, you come home and so no. Even if you have to, again, we're talking about compromise, you probably would have stayed whole night with the boys straight from work. Then you have to tell them, no, you're not going to only spend a few hours with you, have to go home because I have a wife now. So time is different, and you have to sit down and plan time together. Because of the kind of scheduling that we have today, people busy, wife busy, husband busy, it means that we have to set aside time. So you have to deliberately set aside like a date night. So once a week, I know you busy, I'm flitting, you flitting by. We have a night set aside so we know that we're going to be together. It doesn't matter what we do, whether we go out or we stay home, but each person know that I'll spend that time with you. Even during the day, if you can set aside a short bit of time in the day just to be together, what do? Maybe pray together, have coffee together. Just before your bedtime, you spend a little time together, whatever you may do. But if you get on a daily basis, it doesn't have to be a long time, but just two of you together to start your relationship, that is going to help a lot. Now you have to set realistic goals about your time together. You know that whatever schedule you have, don't set a goal that you can't keep. You want something that you could keep for a prolonged period of time. So we're talking date night, whether in or out, we're talking weekend getaways, ever so often, based on what you can afford. I want a couple times a year, a few times a year, you go somewhere for the weekend. At least a vacation every 2 years or something, so based on your finances. But if I know that, you'll spend a little time with me, I look forward to that particular time, cherish that time, value that time, right? And that's realistic. Sometimes I know we could get a little clingy, and it happens on both sides, but it happens a lot with women, and we don't want the new husband, he can't have no friends, he can't go nowhere, he can't be with his friends, they can't call him, you can't do that. No, he has to have a bit of flexibility. She has to have a bit of flexibility. They must have time for herself. She has friends, it's okay for her to go and hang out with her friends. You have friends, it's okay for you to hang out with your friends, but we have to have balance. Right? So again, I hope I helped somebody, in kind of meshing and merging in a relationship, dealing with the issues that we have. I've had people come in front of me and you figure, I'm my own man, I go where I want, I come where I want. Not really. When you get married, then, it's a different kettle of fish. You're not single. Because some people want to be married and you want to be single. No, you can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it. You're married. But it doesn't mean that you cannot enjoy some of the freedoms that you had before, but it has to be shared. And of course, a phone call to say I'm staying out a little bit of hang out, the fellas are going somewhere or going to do something, the girls going somewhere, that'll be fine. It's good to do that, not just not appear and say nothing. All of us have cell phones, so you could call to say I'm going to be late today. Hanging out, the people from the world going somewhere and are going today or something like that, right? Follow me again. We're going to continue with this discourse. I believe is absolutely important. Remember what I told you, even if you don't need the information, there may be a young couple that you do know that may be able to be helped with the information that you can share it with them.
Just shout Jesus right there. He always guides me. He always guides me. Through mountains and valleys. Through mountains and valleys. His joy is refreshing. His joy is refreshing. Restores my soul. Restores my with confidence, mercy and goodness, mercy and goodness. Ooh, oh, give me assurance, oh, that I'll see your glory, I'll see His glory, oh, face to face, face to
Pleasant good morning to you. Have you ever said to yourself, I really wish I can understand the Bible better? I read the Bible, but I simply do not understand it. I wish I knew enough to share my faith. Sometimes I sit in the pew and I don't quite understand because the pastor uses so many scriptures. If you said any of these things, today I have the answer and the solution to your problem. My name is Jemma Duncan. My husband and I are the pastors of Divine Destiny Worship Center with our headquarters in Diego Martin. And we have a program called the School of the Bible that I would like to introduce to you today. School of the Bible is a one-year program for simple, regular, ordinary people who sit in the pews, whose only desire is to understand the Bible better. Since 2014, we've catered for a wide range of persons as young as 10 years old and the people into their 80s. So it's something that the average person can really understand and grasp. Although we cater primarily for people in the pews, we've had a few pastors who came and they felt that they should just sharpen up their information based on the Word of God. Since 2014, we've helped almost 400 persons, ranging from young to way into the 80s. The program lasts for a year. Every Tuesday from 7 to 9 we meet, and for 4 Saturdays for the entire year. Every quarter we have what we call a quarterly assessment meeting. The quarterly is from 9 to 4. We also have online facilities, and we've been really blessed. We have had people from USA, Canada, Europe, the Caribbean countries, Tobago, and we actually have what we call a local online group or groups of people who cannot come to what we call in class in Diego Martin. It doesn't matter where you are, you can access School of the Bible. We have lectures, we have group reports, individual book reports, movies, training in all our presentations that we call 5-minute sermonette, PowerPoint presentations. I mean, you name it, we have it. And we cover a wide range of topics. Our main resources are the Bible and the 7 manuals, and I'm going to just quickly give you a sense of the manual. Volume 1 contains the overview of the Bible and the first 5 books of the Bible, called the books of Moses, the books of the law, or the Pentateuch. It goes from Genesis to Deuteronomy. Volume 2 are what we call the books of history, from Joshua to Esther. Volume 3 are the books of poetry, from Job to Song of Solomon. Volume 4, books of prophecy, and the books of prophecy are divided into the minor prophets, major prophets. The major prophets are from Isaiah to Daniel, minor prophets, Hosea to Malachi. When you come to the School of the Bible, you will get a further understanding as to why they are called minor and major. Shifting into the New Testament, Volume 5 are the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the one historical book, the book of Acts. Volume number 6 are letters of Paul. They are called the Pauline epistles, from Romans to Philemon. And volume number 7 are the general letters written by a variety of authors, from Hebrews to Jude. And then the one book of prophecy in the New Testament, the book of Revelation. Other resource materials are available on request. We have them there. If you wish for them, they're not compulsory. You can request them and we'll order them for you. We want to give you a little example of what some of the volumes look like. And so we have the cover page for the overview of the Bible, the cover page for the book of Genesis, and the cover page for the comparative study of the Gospel. Call us at 633-3780 for further information. And this information will be for 2020. A brochure will be sent to you with all the information you will need. See you in School of the Bible in 2020. I don't want you to ever forget what Jesus said. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me. God bless you real good.